So you are welcome to my healthy food place where we share ideas and recipes on how you can stay healthy naturally. And so today I want to share on some top foods to help uh, reverse and prevent the reoccurrence of stomach ulcers. In case you have suffered stomach ulcer like myself before and you want to stay healed. So I want to share some of the foods that I have been taking lately and some of the changes I have made. We must continue to make dietary changes from time to time as we get older. Yes, and this is why I want you to listen to the end, watch to the end, because there are some foods that were relevant several years ago, but over time have begun to reduce their consumption. Yes, because of the age and because of the effect and for various other reasons. Remember to subscribe if you have not subscribed. I am Grace Enemali, sharing my wellness secrets. Some of the secrets that has been helping me to stay healthy, avoiding frequent visits to the hospitals, and then reversing some ailments without the use of over-the-counter medications. Specifically, a lot of people today complain of stomach ulcers. And stomach ulcer is a wound in the stomach. It could be gastric ulcer, it could be duodenal ulcer or peptic ulcer, whichever one, but it's a wound, depending on where the wound is located. And so this morning, I actually shared a video of remedies of someone on how to manage or heal stomach ulcers. And these remedies comprise of amoxicillin, omeprazole, and all those stuff that we used to take then, but today not anymore. And it is one of the reasons I also want to refresh on some of these foods that you need to start including in your foods in order to stay healed of these stomach ulcers. I also observed that over the years, you will begin to suffer some things like malabsorption, your body not getting enough, not getting the nutrients that you are taking for various reasons, maybe incompleteness of the food or for other reasons. And then sometimes we are also short of protein as we get older. And so I noticed that the cause of the stomach ulcers in older adults seem to be different. Yes, the general term for stomach ulcer being a wound in the stomach. And so when your body is not getting sufficient protein to heal, because healing continues, it's a continuous process in our body. Whether we know it or not, our body continues to heal itself of various injuries. The liver, the kidney, the pancreas, the stomach, the intestinal walls, all parts of the body continues to undergo the work of healing and repairs. And so that is the reason why we must healthy food seriously. And so I want to share with us some of the top foods that you need to start including if you have not, or if you have suffered stomach ulcer and you're having the symptoms. You don't have to worry, my dear. You don't have to worry at all, because the thickness of our stomach walls may not be the same over the years, especially as we continue to take some of the spicy seeds, and those of us who had undergone excessive use of antibiotics in the past may not have that, thickness that may be required. And so sometimes you may feel as if you're having those symptoms. It's not that you're having it. When the stomach is producing excessive acid and there's no food to digest it, the acid starts to eat up the stomach, and then sometimes wound may occur. Yes, and then again, when we are taking too much blood thinners, I'm just trying to remind us of some of the reasons why we come up with the complaints of stomach ulcers. When we consume too much blood thinners in our diet, whether it's hot pepper soup, whether it's green tea or black tea or coffee, or whether it's even spices, talking of healthy spices, when we overdo it, some wines also have the characteristics of, thinning out your blood to the extent that you start feeling, those symptoms like you have stomach ulcer. And so if you are taking too much blood thinners, it may get to a point where your stomach starts feeling injured, and it's at that point you have to stop. All you need to do is to stop the blood thinners. Ginger, too much of ginger, for instance. Ginger is a blood thinner. If you take too much of ginger and turmeric without a sufficient protein buffer, you're going to be feeling, and if you take it over a long time, you definitely may even experience injury in your intestine. And if you're not taking sufficient protein over a long time, you may also have, injury. It depends on where the injury is located. And so that is why we must continue on a daily basis to ensure that we get sufficient daily protein, because protein is the building block. If you don't take enough protein, your body won't be able to engage in the work of repairs of dead cells, renewing the dead cells, replacing repairs, and a lot of work and activities that goes on even unknown to us. And so if you have been taking too much blood thinners, you need to go low on it. Even the lemon juice that we take, lemon juice, lime juice, add this, garlic, ginger. When you take too much, you're going to have those signs of stomach ulcer, because they are things that activate your stomach to produce digestive juice. And if that is happening and you're not bringing in the right food, it doesn't matter. It's not just about food. If you bring in food whose end product is glucose, starch, and all of that, the body cannot use it to rebuild. It may only end up causing excessive acid buildup and then adipose tissue deposition. And so the person may just keep on adding or gaining weight, which is not good also when you are trying to stay healed of stomach ulcer. You don't need to allow excessive acid or weight gain. And then if you're also taking too much caffeinated teas, you also stand the risk of, having those symptoms. This number two. I'm trying to remind us of some of the habits or things that can trigger those ulcers. Because the video I shared with us in the morning is actually telling people that, and it had thousands of views and likes. That's why I had to download that video to show us that everybody, they have their own. The young man may not have suffered stomach ulcer before. He may not even know, but as a student or a medical student or a doctor, he may have read it, that this is what, and these are the drugs that are recommended for it. Most of us have tried, and I'm also happy that one of us has testified on the platform that she was actually engaged in all these medications, but they never helped her until she came in contact with our platform, our WhatsApp group. And that is very, very, impressive. It shows that what we are saying, it shows that what we are teaching is working and is bringing results. So if you are not taking sufficient protein, for instance, you also stand the risk of, having those symptoms of stomach ulcers. If you're taking too much acid, food that produce excessive gas continuously, you also stand the risk. If you're taking too much acidic, like ascorbic, those food that have acid, even be alkaline at the end product, at the end of it, but the contact point that they are acidic, if you are taking those food, spices, juices, and all this stuff too much, you may also stand the risk of, uh, going through stomach ulcers. Having those symptoms. So you need to go low on it. And if you are taking too much processed foods, breads, biscuits, acid buildup. I found this out lately. I didn't know this before. So when you are taking too much of the processed foods, biscuits, breads, and all those food with preservatives, colorings, flavorings, and fried foods, or foods with trans fat, margarines, and butter, the wrong kind of fat, over time, they may reduce blood circulation and create a lot of blockade. And this blockade will create environment for wound to occur. Because once the body, any part of the body is not receiving supply, blood supply, that part of the body is already at risk of disease, inflammatory disease. It could be ulcer, it could be cancer, it could be anything. It could be arthritis or any form of inflammation. So we need constant blood supply moving around. But when we are consuming food that does not encourage good blood circulation, we also stand the risk of experiencing stomach ulcers. And I also said, if you are engaging in overuse of antibiotics, yes, you heard me. If you are taking too much antibiotics, any small symptom, you run to the pharmacy, get your antibiotics, and begin to take it. And I'm even aware that a lot of us, despite all the teachings, despite all the awareness, they are still, engaging in these antibiotics, because they tend to give you that feeling that you have gotten the solution or you have the result. But at the end of the day, they create more problems, making your body a good environment for stomach ulcers. Because when the antibiotics, when you take them, like in that video that I watched, I was just laughing as I watched that video. This is what ignorance can do to us. And then people are watching it, thousands of people are liking it. The extent of ignorance. What that means? That is what ignorance is doing in our midst. You can market it. People are sharing a lot of things. Yes, that's what they know or what they read. Now, the fact that somebody went to school and read something, maybe he's a medical student or is a medical lab science, or it's not the same thing as practically experiencing what we're talking about. So you could be talking about drugs, which you have never used before. You are talking of ailment, which you never suffered before. But here is something I've gone through. I've suffered it and successfully reversed it using natural foods. And so if you are engaging in too much antibiotics, you are preparing yourself for either a return of stomach ulcer or a fresh stomach ulcer attack, because the healthy gut bacteria will have been destroyed by the antibiotics. Because when the antibiotics come in, they destroy the healthy gut bacteria, the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. And if you continue to engage in frequent abuse of these antibiotics, over time, your gut health will be unhealthy. The healthy gut bacteria that helps you in the digestion of your meals would have been destroyed by the antibiotics. So you start experiencing things like bloating, in fact, gastric issues, including stomach ulcers. And that's why I've always encouraged others to abstain as much as possible from the use of antibiotics, especially over-the-counter antibiotics. And even the natural foods, most of them, which also are as powerful as these antibiotics, we must take them cautiously because they also act the same way. Foods like garlic is a blood thinner. It's a healing food, but you mustn't overdo it because you're going to start experiencing things like heartburn. Ginger, turmeric. Some people pack all these things together and then mix it maybe with hibiscus flower tea, and then they are drinking it. Over time, they say their stomach is hot. They are feeling hotness in the stomach. You know, when you're feeling hotness in the stomach, the entire stomach, you're feeling hotness. It may also be a sign that the blood is not where they should be. It may be a sign of various conditions. But the first thing I often encourage people, especially older adults, is to ensure that you have proper blood circulation. So avoid opening door for diseases like stomach ulcers. And so if you have been engaging in it, you need to stay off it. And you have been engaged in too many of the processed foods, bread, biscuits, cakes, and all this stuff with margarines, trans fats, oils with trans fat, fried foods, you need to stay off them. If you have been engaged in too much acidic foods, you need to also stay off them. If you have not been consuming sufficient protein in your diet, you're also at risk. If you have not been including fermented foods in your diet, you're also at risk. And so there are several things that can place you at risk of either having a fresh stomach ulcer wound or having something that looks like the old wound is back again. And so in this little time I have to share with you some of the foods that I've been consuming over the years that has kept these things away, and some of the changes that I've made, because you must continue to make changes. The things you use, some of the foods you ate 10, 12, 13 years ago, your body is changing. So after I can see those people in the house, you're welcome. So if you have been consuming those foods over the years, especially those who have been following me for quite some time, I know some people have been following me for close to 10 years, 12 years. And so I want you to pay attention too, because I have made some changes and I need to keep you updated with the changes I've made, especially with respect to the aspect of stomach ulcers. Number one is the use of fermented millet. I told us that one of the top foods that was handy was fermented millet. Fermented millet is a source of protein, about 15% protein, higher than most of the grains. It does not produce gas, because one of the problems of stomach ulcer is gas. When you take gas-forming foods, your body begins to release gas, and that is a sign that your stomach may be in distress. Because when the gas is in excess, it makes you feel uncomfortable. And if nothing is done about it, over time, a wound may occur, as a matter of fact. And that's why gassing is good. But when it's in excess, we must have to find out the cause of it and withdraw that food from our diet, because it's giving our stomach some gastric distress. Either we withdraw the food or we reduce its consumption. And most times, we also encourage us to include more water, because when the stomach is throwing off gas, you need to add more water. When you're grinding something in the engine and the engine is making a noise too much, you keep adding water so that the noise will go down. And so that is about it. The millet is one of the foods. But there's something I want to tell you about the millet. Okay, there is something I want to tell you about the millet. The millet is very, very, not to go too much on grainy side, because I later found out that the grains are also high in carbohydrates, and most of them are mildly inflammatory too. And so, as much as the millet was fermented millet, not just fermented millet, all the fermented food in this category, such as yogurt. And when I talk about yogurt, it's not this sugary yogurt you get outside. And it baffles me why it's very hard to get, quality yogurt with, live cultures in it. Except you take out time to make your own yogurt at home. And you must have a proper refrigeration to be able to store it. Especially because most time we make it in large quantity to be able to keep it for future use. And so all the fermented foods, not just the fermented millet or other fermented grains like the sorghum bicolor, the sorghum jowar, even the yellow corn, or anything fermented. And what do I mean by fermented? Any food that you have allowed to stay 2 days or more and allowing bacteria to act on it is in this category. And this also includes our local condiments, ogiri, dawa, iru, all this stuff. They are in this category also. And several others in various regions, depending on where you are watching me from. Every region have their own fermented food in their region, because fermented food has numerous benefits. Apart from helping your body to absorb the nutrients, because most of these grains and such foods have what we call anti-nutrients. It's like they are saying, don't use me, don't use me. But when you ferment them, the nutrients are released more easily. And so that is one of the benefits of fermenting the foods. It helps the body to be able to access some of the nutrients that ordinarily they find difficult to access. And so you must include this fermented food. But when you are getting to 60, you're getting to 55, 60 or 60 and above, you have to start going low on grains, in as much as you take them occasionally, but not in the same quantity and the same amount as you were taking it maybe when you were 40s or 50s or some 10, 15 years back. You must continue to, and that is not also to say that you shouldn't, you start going more on seeds. Like this fermented iru, ogiri, they are all fermented foods. They are a source of protein too. And most times, as you are going low on the grains, you should raise the amount of the seeds. The fermented seeds. Why going low on the grains? Because of their inflammatory nature generally, including our oats. I have found all of them to be mildly inflammatory. It doesn't matter, even the millet, sorghum, all of them, they have some mild form of inflammatory response, especially when consumed in large amount and frequently too. And so we have to include it or have it around, make it a part of your diet occasionally in order to strengthen your stomach walls, in order to increase the number of the healthy bacteria that are fighting for you, that are helping you to digest your food, that are working on your behalf. They are like soldiers for you. So when you don't increase the number of the soldiers that are working for you, then these bugs, I call them bugs, these parasites that come from the foods, sugary foods we eat, that later turn out to be like yeast, candida, and all this stuff, they come and take over the stomach. And sometimes you can even notice the tongue. When they are so much in number, you could see the tongue so white, even that of little babies. And when it happens like that, some people say that they have malaria. When it happens like that, the stomach's ability to produce digestive juice to digest your food is reduced drastically. And what do? You have to start to include the green foods. Yes, the green foods to help to mop them up. You need to start to include some yeast killing foods, which I shall be mentioning also briefly before I leave. You have to start including the yeast killing foods to help to kill them off. And no wonder most people, even the uneducated people who prepare some of these things in the market, the market, I mean, this grains, they add spices. But the unfortunate thing about what they do is that most times they don't check what spice they are adding, what is doing. But what they know is that it has a positive effect when added, because these spices has anti-inflammatory effect. And so whereas the grains are inflammatory, these spices help to, work against that inflammation. And though they have the feeling that it has a positive effect, but they don't actually know what and how. And so most times they even overdo it. Yes. So, but I have often also suggested, as much as possible, if you can, make your own fermented millet or whatever fermented you want to make yourself, so that you don't overspice it. Because most time when you need them are those times when your stomach needs pampering. There are occasions when your stomach needs some form of pampering. And these are the times when you need to restore your balance, your internal balance, when you lost it. As a matter of fact, I do lose my internal balance from time to time. And when I do, I try again to restore it. That's what you have to do. When you observe that you have consumed too much of the blood thinners, lemon juice, this juice, lime juice, garlic juice, all the stuff that we take, all in a bit to, alkaline our body, to stay healthy, to ward off diseases, sometimes we overdo it. That is the truth. And so when you overdo it, your body gets out of balance. I have heard the case of a woman, maybe I've mentioned it here before, I don't know, but because she had access to lemon juice, she began to take it. She's a diabetic, and began to take it. She began to take, she was giving this lemon juice to a point that the legs began to swell. The legs began to swell, and they called me, and I began to investigate what has she been taking lately, only to discover that they have been giving her a whole lemon juice, big lemon juice, on a daily basis in the past few days. So that created a big imbalance, whereas the acidic stuff from the lemon juice, including vitamin C, which is meant to aid the absorption of iron, was there was no sufficient iron, not even protein. They didn't have to go for medication for it. All I asked them to do was to stop the lemon juice and start giving her iron-rich foods and then protein-rich foods to restore back the balance. That's all they did. And she regained her balance. And the swollen leg disappeared within 1 week. So that's what we are saying. When you do some of these things, we get out of balance. Sometimes it could be excess protein. It could be out of balance on that side. Sometimes it could be acid. We could be out of balance on that side. So we shouldn't put it on stomach ulcer or just accuse any disease. When we are out of balance, we should work to restore it. We should find out where we lost the balance. It could be it. Sometimes it could even be stress. It could be stress. If it's stress, what can food do for you? If not to just find time and relax and allow your body to reset. It doesn't matter what healthy food you eat. The food cannot do what stress has already destroyed. All you need to do is to restore it and then to take some break and rest, and the body gets moving. There's no amount of healthy food that you can bring in when the imbalance was created by stress. All you need is to deal with the stress, take a rest, and do whatever you need to do, and then the internal balance is restored. And so when you start taking the millet, As you get older, you start reducing the grains. That's the point I want to make. Some time ago, I made videos of my breakfast ideas for some time. And you'll have observed, it's almost a year now, that there were a higher number of carbohydrates in that. But today, I've stopped those carbohydrates. And so if you watched me or you watched those live and you are doing exactly those things consistently, I have already left it. And that's why you need to continue to subscribe and to follow, because you need to be updated. I've left that long ago. I've left it. Sweet potatoes, what is it called? Cassava, and all of that were prominent in the breakfast. But it's no more there. What am I taking now? That brings me to the number 2 thing to prevent the recurrence of stomach ulcer, and that is cabbage and carrots. These are low-calorie veggies, and these are top foods that helps to prevent ulcers, especially in older adults. Most women, especially menopausal women, stand the risk of stomach ulcers if they have been engaged in antibiotics in the past. Too much antibiotics, they stand the risk. And as I told us, a lot of people are even moving about with the wound of stomach ulcers, yet they are not aware of it. And that's why sometimes we have crisis where somebody just collapsed and they say the person has not been sick. It's not that the person was all the while sick, but it wasn't known. A lot of people are sick, but they're still moving around. A lot of people are having stomach ulcers, but they're moving around. But when you take an offensive food, crisis or complication can come up, and the person collapses, and they say maybe they did juju or something has happened to the person. No, the problem was there, incubating. But we were not listening, we were not careful to hear what the body was saying. And sometimes we ignored it. And so that is why if you suspect some of those, small little symptoms, we need to give it attention. As much as if it were a serious ailment or something serious. Because the problem we often have is ignoring them. And so cabbage and carrot is one of the top foods I want to suggest to you, especially our older adults, to start including in your diet, because they are healing foods, including diabetics. Before now, I said they are too sweet. Yes, I agree. But we have foods that can reverse your blood sugar, reduce your blood sugar, or not only reduce your blood sugar, but we have foods that can also counter the effect of the blood sugar. The food that I have found quite offensive for diabetics and pre-diabetics are the very starchy varieties, including the so-called resistant starch. They are okay, but they are not the best. Over the time, they may work at certain point in your life, but as you continue to advance and progress in life, those resistant starch will no longer be the best for you. They may be okay, like unripe plantain. A lot of people, when you are in your 40s, 30s, 50s, you can go well with it. But after your 60s, 65, and thereabout, you can no longer flow with the unripe plantain. Even the sweet potatoes, which I was also, celebrating then, may no longer be, because of the starchy, the amount of starch and the amount of carbohydrates. Though it's a healthy and nutrient-dense food, but the amount of carb is high. And so because of the calorie too, you wouldn't want to, continue with it. And so carrot and cabbage is the second one. You can take it as juice because they are anti-aging, but they are healing foods to help, because cabbage is a source of vitamin K in order to help prevent those stomach ulcers. And it's also one of the foods that help to remove things like heavy metals around your liver. That's green cabbage is very good if you make it part of your diet, and it will prevent the accumulation of body fat, the adipose fat deposition. It works on it. And the carrot is also good for vitamin A, high vitamin A content, and for your eyes and for your skin. They are both very good food. And I say that diabetics who are keeping off the other starchy varieties can take it moderately, not in large amounts, but in combination with other foods like chia seeds. If you soak your chia seeds and take alongside your carrot and cabbage, you won't have that spike in your blood sugar. If you have a sprinkle of cinnamon on it, you won't have that spike in your blood sugar. If you also follow it up with some cloves, you won't have that spike in your blood sugar. And besides that, sometimes I do take it, but you must follow it up with a protein-rich diet, plant-based precisely, in order to stop that tendency to cause a spike. This protein will cause like a blocking, so that there will be nothing like spiking in your sugar. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I have on few occasions tested it, because some of the things I do carry out a test on myself. After testing it, I checked my blood sugar few hours later or the next day to confirm what exactly happened. And I found out that it doesn't really, except you are consuming with other carbs, except you are also consuming in excess amount. But because of the type of nutrients that are there, which I refer to as healing foods, you don't have to keep them off because of your eyes. Some of us that we use our eyes so much, not just us, a lot of us make heavier use of our eyes. So you need nutrients from such foods to support your eyes. Yes, you need nutrients like that to support your eyes. And so they are also capable of healing your ulcers and then stopping them from progressing. That's number 2. Then there is another food, that is the cloves. This may come as a surprise to you because it was a surprise to me a few years after I was avoiding it as a food that causes stomach ulcer, only for me, after many years, to realize that it's also one of the healers of stomach ulcers, especially in older adults. It's not only for ulcers, it's a liver supporting food. And so I began to include it. This was a food I was running away from. I'm talking of cloves. I've talked so much on it. It's great for reversing insulin resistance. It's great for, reducing those spike in your blood. It can effectively also reduce your blood sugar. These are things I've tested. I've taken it, checked the blood sugar hours later or thereafter. And so even when you take something that you suspect that the sugar seems to be on the increase, you can start chewing it right away. You don't have to panic. Start chewing it. It's going to start working immediately to reduce that sugar in your blood. It's going to thin it out. So we shouldn't just live in ignorance. So clove is one of the foods, if you are an older adult, that you should be including in your diet if you want to reverse inflammations and prevent those stomach ulcer from occurring. As a matter of fact, sometimes when it's working, I do feel it working. I don't know whether I'm the only one that, feels this way. I don't know. But that is what happens. I do feel it when it's working, when it's healing, when the healing is taking place. It's amazing how this happens. But I do know when it's happening. And that's one of the reasons why I say our body is the first laboratory that God gave to us. If you listen to it very well, you may be able to know what actually is going on. And that's why I say you should start including it in your diet in order to prevent stomach ulcers from occurring if you already survived it. There are other foods, even the sweet potatoes, occasionally you can take it. It's rich in vitamin A. Take small amount. Unripe plantains, they're okay. But the point I want to bring out in this life is that those foods, as you get to 60, 65, or 70, you should begin to explore other options like carrots, cabbage, spices like these cloves, chia seeds is also one of them because of its nutrient density, because of high calcium. When we are avoiding milk, which is common with many of us, you know, in those days we were told that milk is the healing food for stomach ulcer, and we are drinking it, and acid was building up. But now that we know the truth, we take it in little amount if you want to, but not as much as before, because it can prevent the proper flow of blood, which can even aid the buildup of environment for stomach ulcers to occur. And so, if you are taking things like chia seed is going to deliver most of the nutrients that you are missing by not taking the milk, especially the calcium. When there is low calcium in us, in our body, most times also we have that symptom of stomach ulcer. And so you start including chia seeds occasionally. It's not sweet though. It's not something that tastes nice, and you don't need to add milk or sugar. But you have to take it because of your health. You just talk about half tablespoon or even less, and then you just take it after your water therapy. It has a little, calorie. I've begun to feel it lately. So you have to take it, especially when you are coming up with other carbohydrates food. But when you are taking it, I assure you that it's going to provide most of the nutrients that can give you that protection that you need in order not to allow the stomach ulcers in order not to allow the stomach ulcers to occur again. And so another type of food that I am using lately is the okra. Okra, yes. Okra has that mucilage. It's one of the vegetables that I don't really like. But you don't have to be eating any food because you like it. As you get older, you have to eat it because of your health, because your health is what matters. And so the okra is one food that is good for you, and which I am using, and one of the best vegetables for older adults because it's high in calcium. And not only is it high in calcium, it can help to control insulin resistance. Talking of diabetic symptoms and diabetes, it's good for high cholesterol. Those who are managing high cholesterol will find it a very good food for managing a host of ailments. I'm talking of the okra, including stopping the reoccurrence of stomach ulcers. I didn't used to like it. I don't like draw soup, food that has that drawing, whatever they call it. I don't like it, but I am taking it. Why? Because of my health. I have to take it, add a little tomatoes, add all the alkaline veggies, garlic, ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, protein, crayfish, all the stuff that goes with a normal cooking. But then I take it because it's a healing food. Another vegetable that is also good for you is the water leaf. These are foods. Now, I said earlier that as we begin to approach that golden age, or whatever age, but as you continue to advance, you must be selective. All the foods are not the same. Like in the times of vegetables, we know that the wedu is good. It's a healing food, both for those with high blood pressure. It's also one of the vegetables. And some of them are more easily digestible. And that's why I'm recommending that if you are going through stomach ulcer, or you have recovered, you don't want it to reoccur, you must focus on the easily digestible veggies and foods. And these are the top ones. Okra is a good one. What's it called? Water leaf is also good. Another green veggies. If you suspect that you have thinned out your blood and you have access to moringa leaves, it's great for stomach ulcer too. But it's not always available. But if you can lay hands on whether the dried powder is great for stopping that stomach ulcer from progressing. because of its nutrient density and lack of calorie. It's also very high in vitamin A and calcium, and these are the top foods that can help stop the progression of stomach ulcers or other symptoms like it. And so these are some of the vegetables that should be included in addition to the fermented foods. You don't have to be relying much on the starchy varieties. The starchy varieties are not the best for older adults. I'm still making that emphasis because the breakfast ideas I shared some time ago is no longer the ideas today because I've moved away from there. Relying more on low-calorie veggies, relying more on raw veggies, healthy fats, avocados, cashews, more now than the starchy varieties. I'm talking of the starchy and root vegetables. Now, the older we get, as I'm going to celebrate the new age, I told us that there are key dietary changes because if you don't make these changes, there is no, I have realized that more than 60% of women will surely come up with these symptoms that looks like stomach ulcers. And some of them, or majority of them, will be due to the fact that we're not having sufficient protein. Protein is just what is missing out most of the time. We said a lot of people are avoiding milk, for instance. Yes, all kinds of milk. A lot of people a lot of us don't have access to good yogurt. A lot of people don't eat meat anymore. These are complete proteins: meat, eggs, milk, then name it. And even the beans is causing gas. A lot of people, they don't know what else to eat. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. And so by the time we are doing all of this, our body begins to lack what you call essential amino acids. So we begin to eat things that are not complete. And what is the meaning of consuming food that is not complete? When a food is not complete, the body cannot use it. Beans is one of such foods. And that's why most times when people say they are eating beans, it won't be long, they come up with inflammatory conditions like painful joints. Because when these foods are not fully used because they are not complete, they begin to settle around the joints. When they are settling around the joints, it won't be like up to a week. You start feeling pains all over your body. A lot of people that I have had to attend to, most times it was beans, excessive consumption of beans that created inflammations. Because they said meat is not good. We agree. Okay, egg is not good, they were told. But I didn't say that. You have to take moderately. They say, okay, fish is smelling. Some of them are toxic, and not only toxic, not all the fishes are the same. We only need those with omega-3 fats, not all the fishes. If the fish is not a source of omega-3, it's not in the category of the healthy fish. Though you may be eating fish every day, but you are not getting the nutrient needed. You may eat fish Monday to Friday, but you are not getting omega-3 fats. Because maybe you may even be avoiding the fatty fish ignorantly, thinking that the fats are your enemies. And in doing that, you'll be, hurting your brain. So when you see that before 60 years, some people are already suffering Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and all of that, it's because of all this abstinence. When we're avoiding too many fats, avoiding fish, meat, egg, avoid every avoidables. So the brain begins to suffer. And while the brain is suffering, we are unaware of this. And before we realize it, the damage is done already. We begin to forget things. Forget things anyhow. At times, people can no longer recognize the people living in the house with them. Even at 60, I've seen it. You can't recognize, can't remember anything. And all these things began as a result of too much abstinence. We are all caught up in it. We are all in it together. So as we begin to age, we must be careful to ensure that we get sufficient protein. Because that's what I keep looking for on a daily basis. Where can I find protein? Because where you don't get it, that is when, if you can do this thing that I'm telling you, you will discover that protein is not easy to get. Protein is expensive. If you can act every day, you tell yourself, where can I find quality complete protein? Which food? You will soon realize that what you've been taking before is not complete. I always include a little soya beans. I always have it around. Soya beans powder. Well processed, because it's a complete protein. And it's also inflammatory if you take it too much. And so you must, when you are eating food that is not complete, you can add a little of the soya beans. But if you don't process it well, you just go and buy anyone by the roadside, it can cause death even instantly. I'm talking of soya beans, yes, because of its high level of phytic acid. And so that is why we should have enough information. We need to be properly, guided. We need even the grace of God to help us, because most of these things that we say we are avoiding are opening door for stomach ulcers. That is exactly what happens. Now, there is another food that I added lately, just about a month ago, and that's the sesame seed oil. I found out that it's high in protein. It can reverse the onset of stomach ulcer. I've had the sesame seed oil for quite some time. So I didn't use it until sometimes one night after I took vitamin C, high potency, and I took lemon juice in my warm water in the morning. I don't know whether I forgot or whatever, but I just felt I took beans that day. So I always want to take vitamin C along. And so in the evening, I was actually like feeling that the chest was like hurting. So those signs that you have when it's ulcer. So when I began to feel that thing, I look around, I say, what I need is actually protein. So I went to the cupboard and brought out that sesame seed oil. After going through the body, reading through, it's okay, I'm going to give it a try, because it's a source of protein and fat. So I had half cup full of it and drank it at that odd hour of the night, about 12 midnight. And can you believe it sealed up that wound? It never occurred again. Just half cup full. And that was my first time. I've always had that sesame oil in my cupboard. I've never used it, because I know it's good. Because sometimes when I come across such a uncommon, I know their benefit. I just get it and keep it around. That was the end of it. I just half cover of it. And even last night, I didn't have to continue repeating it on a daily basis. So anytime I now feel that I'm having like an irritation around my chest, I just take it. And so there are several other things like the cold pressed coconut oil, which also great. I don't need to talk too much on it. We already know that it's one of our healing foods, which we must take occasionally, either as a mouth gargle, or you can sip it a little to help to destroy bacteria and then to keep your healthy fat level up. And then we have also even the olive oil, the cold pressed olive oil is good too. All those healthy fats, they're good. You need to be taking them moderately. Don't overdo it. So when you overdo it, it begin to give you those signs that make you begin to feel as if you are going through stomach ulcer. Even the boiled egg, I don't take much anymore, but boiled egg is rich in vitamin A. And why? Everything seems to be polluted. We are avoiding, like I said, seem to be avoiding almost everything avoidable. You say the eggs, the chickens are not well treated, so they don't give healthy eggs. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. So I reduce their consumption so as to reduce exposure to toxins, to reduce exposure to all the things that will cause hormonal imbalance and all these hormonal issues. So I reduced it also. But anytime I feel, I don't want to die, but anytime I feel that I need it, I take it because it's very high vitamin A. It's a healing food for stomach ulcers. It's one of the foods I take, but I don't take it daily as I used to. And that's why you must follow. So if you heard me before, say I take one daily, or I'm even taking two. At a point, I was taking two. It affected my cholesterol. Yes, it affected my cholesterol. And I overheard someone saying he was taking 5 or 6. And so it's not just what we heard people say. We'll just go and be doing it. And that's why I often say it. You test it on yourself. If it didn't work out, to stop it. So I heard somebody say he's taking this 5 for how many eggs, which they say is almost impossible. I don't know whether it's true or not. But I said, okay, let me even increase mine to 2. But over time, I started to feel the buildup of cholesterol. Yes, bodies are not the same. So I had to stop and withdraw for a few, give myself some time to, to balance up again. I mean, the bad cholesterol and the good cholesterol, to balance up. Because I observed that it was on the high side. So I began to take those things that I already share with us. I began to do, and it works out. It works out. When you suspect your cholesterol is high, you reduce those ones that are raising it, and then make some changes. Begin to include oats. Quicker oats, occasionally. It has soluble and insoluble fiber. It has beta glucan. Apart from those names, when you take it, you will feel the impact. It is how you feel that assures you that you are on course, that you are really dealing with the cholesterol. So when the cholesterol is combined with stomach ulcer, especially for older women, it becomes difficult. You have to be dealing with stomach ulcer, dealing with cholesterol, trying to manage insulin resistance, and sometimes also managing high blood pressure. So how do you do all of this? That's why I say most times what we need is to balance, to have our balance, internal balance restored. Wherever we lost the balance, we need to ensure that we get it back. Because over time, I know, get out of balance, either through stress, overeating something that in excess or not enough. Either the thing is in excess or it's not enough in the body. These are the sources of the imbalance. So when it occurs, you restore it. Sometimes I feel imbalance for protein. I feel it. And you too, you do feel it. You know what I'm saying? You just feel that your body is too light. You need the backup of protein. And even if you said you didn't want to eat beans, that very day you go out for beans, your body will communicate to you that it's too light. I can't get on like this. That's exactly what I'm saying. And so when you listen to it, you go for that food. It's telling you, no, I need protein. And even when somebody looks at you, your face looks famished. If somebody that is, helped somebody or like myself, you notice that the person is already famished because there's no protein in the diet. And that's why I see a lot of malnourished children around. And it pains my heart. It pains my heart. And why does it pain my heart? It pains my heart because their parents are not just educated. It's not a matter of poverty. They can use the money they are using to buy biscuits and boo-boo and sweets, whatever, to buy something more healthy for them. But they don't, because they don't have education. They don't have they don't have the awareness. They'll be mixing all these boo-boo sugary things for the little kids. You see them, they look grossly malnourished. And it's very common to see such children around these days. And it normally grieves my heart because I wish I have the wherewithal to help. I don't know, it's on the increase. You see children that will ordinarily look beautiful. They look so malnourished because of these things. And so I will be ending it up here. I've had some time. If you have to make a comment, you can go ahead and do it. But for now, I want to draw the curtain at this point. These are some of the foods that I have been using to reverse and ward off the recurrence of stomach ulcers. Vegetables, green vegetables, cabbage, carrots, cloves, chia seeds, sweet potato, ripe. But you keep making changes. You keep making changes as you get older. Don't just stay on one place because your body is changing. Don't forget to click the subscribe button because I shall be bringing you more empowerment and eye-opening life events such as this to help you to regain and retain your health through natural foods. Thanks for watching and see you again.